Breaking news, breaking news. Yeah, it's repetitive, but you gotta hear this because I'm gonna break down this Da4ed case with Celeste Hernandez. Yo, this case is so crazy. He dismantled the body allegedly, put it in the trunk, had it in his house, after he allegedly stabbed her up 20 minutes after she got there. Then he went down to do an interview, came back, thought about what he was going to do with the body. Then he went online and said, let me order 2 chainsaws and chop the body up. And, let me order a pool so I could put the body in the pool to contain the blood for me chopping. Just sit back and listen to this.
Keep it going, 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 keep it going. Mecca what? Mecca audio, Mecca what? Mecca audio, Mecca what? Mecca audio, Mecca what? Mecca audio. I like the way it's going down.
You already know what it is. Yo, we're going to break this down, man. We're going to get right into this because we ain't going to waste no time with this, man.
After months of secrecy, prosecutors have just revealed brand new, never before seen, never before heard alleged details in the horrific killing and disposal of a child's body in the Da4ed case. Alleged ongoing sexual abuse of a child, a vicious stabbing, a grisly alleged dismemberment with a chainsaw. The allegations against singer-songwriter Da4ed are on full display in this new court filing, providing graphic new details about what LA prosecutors claim he allegedly did to this 14-year-old girl and why. Welcome.
Yo, this joint is so crazy. You ain't even gonna believe this, man. I never seen nothing like this before. Y'all gotta sit back. You gotta watch this. I'm gonna give you a little intro real quick. Relax. I just want to give you one so we get hyped, so we get our spirits up while we listen to this madness. Welcome to the Twilight Zone.
21-year-old David Anthony Burke, the singer known as Da4ed, who skyrocketed to fame with songs like Romantic Homicide, has had a spectacular fall from grace. Months after 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez was found dead, her mutilated body reportedly found in Da4ed's Tesla at a Hollywood tow yard, prosecutors have now charged Da4ed with first-degree murder, continuous sexual abuse of a child under 14, and unlawful mutilation of human remains. He's entered a not guilty plea. It's important to remember that he is innocent until proven guilty. I say that especially because it can be very hard to remember when we're about to get into these disturbing new alleged details that were revealed by prosecutors. And this is big because there has been so much secrecy to this case. I mean, remember, we just saw the autopsy report last week after it was sealed. In fact, we actually thought that we would have to wait for a preliminary hearing to learn any new details in this case. The preliminary hearing, of course, is where prosecutors try to present sufficient evidence to say, hey, look, we have enough evidence to move this case forward towards trial. And during an arraignment last week, his attorneys told the judge they wanted to get to that preliminary hearing right away.
Counsel, on behalf of your client, do you waive formal reading of the complaint, advisement of rights, including armed forces and veterans' rights, enter a plea of not guilty, denying any and all special allegations, enhancements, and priors?
Yes, Your Honor.
And requesting a preliminary hearing within the period?
Yes, Your Honor. From the media reports, apparently there have been 4 months of secret grand jury proceedings. We believe that Mr. Burke is entitled at the earliest opportunity to an open preliminary hearing and the proceedings not be done in secret. So we are asking for a preliminary hearing to be set at the earliest possible date on the 10th day. Your Honor, we believe the actual evidence will show Da4ed Burke did not murder Celeste Rivas Hernandez, nor was he the cause of her death. And we would like to be able to have the evidence come into the light of day at the earliest opportunity in order to establish that.
And that was seemingly to put the prosecutor's feet to the fire, right? What do you have? What's your evidence? There's been a lot of questions swirling over whether, you didn't get a grand jury indictment, right? Is there a weakness in this case? Remember, despite apparently multiple secret grand juries considering this case, evaluating evidence, hearing evidence, for whatever reason, they chose not to indict, or maybe they weren't asked to indict. Could have just been an investigative grand jury or investigative grand juries, which means now it's up to prosecutors to convince the court in a preliminary hearing that there's enough evidence to move this case towards trial. The defense will have an opportunity to challenge that. But when David's attorneys returned to court yesterday to discuss when a preliminary hearing would happen, they said the original date of Friday, this Friday, was in fact too soon. They haven't had nearly enough time to review the huge amount of evidence to challenge it at a hearing. So this preliminary hearing has been pushed back to May 26th. But that's not even the big news. This is what I have in my hands.
That's the big news.
Because for the first time, prosecutors are
An
laying out some of
indictment.
the alleged evidence they have against David and what they claim they could prove at an eventual trial. And I will warn you right now, the claims in this document are incredibly disturbing. Allegations that he stabbed this 14-year-old girl to death to keep her from revealing that he had been sexually abusing her. That's the allegation. That he allegedly used a chainsaw to cut up her body in an inflatable kiddie pool in the garage. More details regarding this alleged secret, illegal sexual relationship. More importantly, for the prosecution's case, what evidence they have to prove that. And that's what I want to get into. So according to investigators, Celeste was last seen or heard from on April 23rd, 2025, when David, according to prosecutors, sent a rideshare car to pick her up from her hometown of Lake Elsinore and bring her back to the home that he was apparently renting in the Hollywood Hills, a trip of more than 80 miles. Prosecutors claim she was exchanging messages with David during this ride, and then she apparently never uses the phone again. Celeste's dismembered body was found months later on September 8th in a Tesla Model X, allegedly registered to David. And according to this filing, the car had been parked on the street just 400 feet from where David was staying, and then it was towed. The manager at the tow yard reported a horrific smell, flies around the front trunk, and that's when authorities discovered Celeste's body. According to this document, it's called the People's Brief regarding preliminary hearing evidence, quote, surveillance video and other evidence confirm defendant, meaning David, was the last person to drive the vehicle on July 29th, 2025, before he left Los Angeles on a concert tour. So that's about, what, a month or so before the car was towed and the body was found. It's not clear if anyone else actually moved the car or had any knowledge of what was reportedly inside. I want you to keep that in mind. We're going to talk about it later. There's something in the filing that I thought was really interesting. But it goes on to say, quote, at the tow yard, LAPD detectives opened the Tesla's front storage compartment and observed a black cadaver bag covered in insects. Inside the bag, they discovered a severely decomposed head and torso. A plastic garbage bag beneath the black cadaver bag contained the dismembered arms and legs. However, the victim's ring and pinky fingers on her left hand had been amputated and were not found in the Tesla. On September 16, 2025, the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner's Department positively identified the body from dental records as belonging to the victim. But this is the...
Now, this is the crazy part, right? Celeste and David both had a tattoo on the ring of the finger, right, that they was using. And he allegedly chopped off the finger so they couldn't identify the body based on the tattoo and come and question him. And then they turned around and said that he was calling her 20 minutes after she got there to him, asking where you at, meaning putting together an alibi. You're going to hear all that coming up. I just want you to know what you're going to hear when you hear it, because I know they talk a little different than we talk, and we want to make sure we understand what we're talking about. Right? We there? All right, let's ride.
The part that's new, okay? The filing claims that LAPD robbery homicide detectives determined that Celeste and David met in January of 2022 when she was just 11 years old. That he allegedly began a sexual relationship with Celeste when she was 13. David was 18. And the court paperwork revealed that investigators have been looking into David for quite some time. The filing says detectives learned the victim had been reported missing to the Riverside County Sheriff's Department by her family, who live in Lake Elsinore, in February and April 2024. RCSD telephonically contacted defendant on February 17, 2024, after they identified a phone number in the victim's phone records that belonged to him. During the call, defendant claimed he had spoken to the victim last on February 13th or 14th, 2024, but stated he was unaware she was a minor or that she had been reported missing. RCSD advised him that Los Angeles Sheriff's Department deputies would be coming to his home. On that day, defendant was living at 804 North Doheny Place in West Hollywood. RCSD requested that LASD conduct a welfare check at defendant's home. LASD deputies went to defendant's home that night at 8:15 p.m. and informed him the victim was a 13-year-old runaway. Defendant again claimed he was unaware she was a minor and he had only met the victim once in person in November of 2023. However, defendant showed deputies a yearbook photo of the victim he had on his cell phone. Although he claimed to be unaware of where the victim was at the time, she returned home 2 days later. By the way, you're seeing how in-depth this investigation was and maybe kind of gives us an idea of why it took so long for there to be an arrest and for these charges and for the evidence to develop. But remember, prosecutors claim he killed her to keep her quiet about this supposed relationship, to not have her expose him to ruin his career. Just keep that in mind. So the filing continues, quote, despite being informed by law enforcement the victim was only 13, defendant continued to pursue her. After the victim returned home in February 2024, her parents took her cell phone away. Defendant drove to Lake Elsinore and paid a junior high school student in the victim's class $1,000 to give the victim a cell phone defendant purchased so they could stay in contact. Throughout 2024, the victim spent a significant amount of time with defendant, including summer weekends at his home in the Hollywood Hills and traveling with him to Las Vegas, London, and Texas to meet his family. So now,
Hold up. So where was her parents at when she was doing all this traveling? See, that's what this whole thing is about. Where was the parent? They say she traveled all the way to London. So somebody break that down and make that make sense to me, because, you know, fame don't mean that you're safe. A young artist can have millions of streams, a big fan base, a clean image, a sad song, a soft voice, but that don't mean safe. That don't mean righteous. That don't mean that it should, you know, be anywhere near your child. Put in the comments, let me know what you think of that. Do you think because he's a baby face, he got a nice voice, that he should be? Put it in the comments, you know, because that's what I really want to know right now. Prosecutors allege that David met Celeste when she was very young, and the relationship later became abusive while she was still a minor. They said he was having sex with her 13, she was 18. Put in the comments if you think that's too young, because he's 18, she's 13. We already know, all right? And put why or why not, because I know we got some other thinking people out there, you know? But make sure you hit that like button and let's keep this moving, because we riding.
Now I'm thinking travel records, right? I'm thinking how in-depth this investigation was. And by the way, this is the first time we're hearing just how often Celeste was with, or allegedly was with, this much older man. And it really speaks to how many people were potentially aware that he was maybe in this relationship with a younger girl, right? Members of online forums that David and Celeste were reportedly part of have said they didn't know Celeste was so young, thinking she was David's age. But if she was traveling with him to different places and meeting these people in a circle, did none of them suspect that something was maybe amiss here? I mean, again, assuming these allegations are true. You go back to the filing, quote, text exchanges between the victim and defendant contain references to sex, pregnancy, abortion, and use of the Plan B emergency contraceptive. There are also explicit photographs documenting and corroborating their sexual relationship. In November 2024, defendant and the victim broke up, although they continued to communicate, and text messages suggest they also continued to have sexual relations. See, that's the kind of alleged evidence that is incredibly compelling. What separates this from other cases of, let's say, a he said, she said, right? That's the kind of alleged evidence that supports the sex charge, but goes to the special circumstances of killing a witness, right? Remember, to support the special circumstances allegations, which you would get life in prison without the possibility of parole for the murder charge or the death penalty, allegedly killing her because she's a witness to this, or allegedly killing her to silence her. It's evidence of this purported sexual relationship that's really problematic, or potentially really problematic for David.
And by the way, I have to tell you, this just came out at the time of this recording. So the death certificate for Celeste, and this is per reporting from TMZ, there's a change. It used to say that she was not pregnant. Now it's saying that section is marked U for unknown. So what is this suggesting? That it was possible she could have been pregnant? Not entirely clear.
Per prosecutors, quote, April 23rd, 2025 is the likely date of the victim's death and when all her cellular activity ceased. The night prior, April 22nd, 2025, defendant and the victim engaged in a lengthy argument described in detail in their text messages. The messages reveal the victim's jealousy over defendant's relationships with other women, as defendant led her to believe they had a future together. She became extremely upset and threatened to disclose damaging information about her relationship with defendant to end his career and destroy his life. Defendant's first studio album was due to be released on April 25th, 2025, so 2 days later. He had an
So bottom line, what they're saying is that she threatened to ruin his career by coming out saying, you know, you a chomo, you know, you ain't got no business messing with me. So either you tighten up or I'm going to the peoples to let them know that this is going on and you know your career is going to be over. Young man panicked, went and got Bethlehem, as my man Banky Pound say, go check out Banky Pound. He's telling the prison stories, right? Go check out Banky Pound. So he grabbed the Bethlehem, called her to come over, sent the Uber. She took the Uber driver dropped her off at 10:10. 10:10, she gets there. By 10:30, he's calling her phone or texting her phone saying, where you at? Why you ain't get here yet? This dude was allegedly very diabolical, if that's the way that went, because he's sitting there texting, and I mean, he had an alibi. So this was well premeditated. This wasn't no, she said, oh, I'm going to ruin your career by telling them that you awed me. And then he jumped on her. This was something that he said, oh, she's threatening my career. Let me get her up here. Let me pay for Uber. Let me do this. Let me do that. This was calculated. Do you think that this is the most diabolical type of human being or what? Put it in the comments. Let's keep it moving. We riding.
emerging multi-million-dollar career already in progress. He also had multiple product endorsements, which were highly profitable. I mean, to give you an idea about what was at stake and what the prosecution may use at trial or a preliminary hearing, I mean, we told you in an episode yesterday that after Da4ed was arrested on murder and mutilation charges, the video game Fortnite announced it was going to refund players who made Da4ed-related purchases in the game, saying in a statement, we hear the concerns. We have a bunch of changes we're rolling out over time. The first one will be available on Tuesday, April 28th, when anyone who purchased one of these items will be able to get an immediate self-service refund. And right now, players who request refunds for Da4ed cosmetics via player support can be refunded. And according to reporting from the Houston Chronicle, Da4ed's song, Locked and Loaded, became the game's first official theme song in 2025. Now he's being canceled across the board. You have companies like Universal Music Group working to remove the songs that he apparently did in collaboration with their artists from streaming platforms. And I say all that because, again, think about what was going on in his life. Think about the height of his career at that time. I have to imagine the prosecutors are going to use this to establish the narrative that he couldn't let Celeste expose him, right? Again, these are just allegations. This is the prosecution's narrative, but you see where they're going. So investigators contend that April 23rd was when Celeste was killed, soon after arriving at that house in the Hollywood Hills. Quote, at approximately 8:40 p.m. on April 23rd, 2025, defendant sent an Uber to transport the victim from her Lake Elsinore home to his residence. They communicated before and during her Uber ride, which dropped her off at defendant's Hollywood Hills home around 10:10 p.m. At approximately 10:30 p.m., defendant sent text messages to the victim inquiring where she was. The people contend this was part of defendant's premeditated plan to cover up the murder, as she was already dead by this time. If that's true,
isn't that sick?
That is a quick turnaround from when she arrived to when she was killed, right? And that goes to that premeditation aspect, lying in wait. Quote, knowing he had to silence the victim before she ruined his music career as she had threatened, very soon after her arrival at his home, defendant stabbed the victim to death multiple times and stood by while she bled out. At no time did he call law enforcement or 911 or take her to an emergency room to attempt to save her life. Despite knowing she was dead and her family was trying to find her, the evidence will show defendant lied and claimed he didn't know where she was. In fact, defendant drove to Santa Barbara County. This is something we've always talked about before. Drove to Santa Barbara County immediately after the victim died, attempting to dispose of her property and destroy evidence. At approximately 11:30 p.m. on April 23rd, 2025, he drove away from his home as he texted and called the victim's phone asking where she was. Again, these were acts calculated and planned to set up his defense within a very short timeline after the victim's vicious murder. Defendant drove his Tesla north on the 101 freeway to San Marcos Pass Road, SR 154, near Lake Cachuma in Santa Barbara County. He returned home early the following morning on April 24th, 2025, before going to a radio interview for the release of his album that week. He sent 2 additional texts to the victim's phone that day, which obviously went unanswered because she was already dead. After April 26, 2025, defendant never attempted to contact her again. And if that's true, that would be strange, right? Because if that's the case and he had no idea what happened to her, wouldn't he be desperately trying to get a hold of her? I think that's an argument that would be put forward by prosecutors. And then the filing gets into the incredibly disturbing details of how David allegedly cut Celeste's body into pieces. Quote, tellingly, defendant subsequently purchased tools to carry out his plot to dismember or dispose of the victim's body. On April 24, 2025, defendant ordered a shovel from Home Depot that was delivered to his home from Postmates. On May 1st, 2025, defendant ordered and subsequently Amazon delivered 2 chainsaws to his home. On May 5th, 2025, defendant ordered and Amazon subsequently delivered a body bag, heavy-duty laundry bags, and a blue inflatable pool to his home. He made these purchases under the fake name Victoria Mendez.
He ordered a body bag?
On May 8th, 2025, defendant returned to the same area in Santa Barbara County, leaving his home around 11:30 p.m. He returned to the area again on May 31st, 2025. This is an isolated site off SR 154 where the victim's identification was subsequently discovered in January 2026. Additionally, on July 7th, 2025, defendant ordered and subsequently Amazon delivered a burn cage to his home under the same fake name as part of his plan to incinerate evidence. We've talked about that before with Steve Fisher, the private investigator. Quote, moreover, defendant took horrifying measures to destroy and discard the victim's body. After placing her body into the blue inflatable pool to prevent her blood from spilling onto his garage floor, defendant used a chainsaw and perhaps other tools to cut off her limbs. Small blue plastic fragments were found embedded in the victim's remains, which were collected by the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner's Department. The fragments were analyzed by the LAPD's Forensic Science Division Trace Analysis Unit. An expert was able to match a physical fit match from the blue fragments to the blue inflatable pool purchased by defendant in May 2025. In order to distance himself from the victim, he amputated her left ring and pinky fingers because her ring finger contained a tattoo of his name. Her fingers have not been recovered. Defendant then.
Can you get any crazier than this? Chopping a finger off because you was so in love that you asked her to put your tattoo on her body. She agrees. And then you chop that finger off. No, we got to ride.
Placed her head and torso into the cadaver bag he purchased. He placed her limbs into a garbage bag, which he deposited into his front trunk, laying the cadaver bag on top. For several weeks or possibly months, defendant left the victim's body to decompose inside his Tesla. Let me stop right there. As you can see, prosecutors are going to claim they have digital evidence, forensic evidence, purchase history to all support this. I have to imagine this will be challenged by the defense with their own experts. And if there's certain items of evidence, body parts that are missing, they'll try to make room for reasonable doubt. But it's really, you're seeing now how they are building this case and what they've been doing. I mean, Steve Fisher talked about, what was it, like 54 search warrants were issued in this case. And this, by the way, is all important because we always wondered, did David have help, right? This is a monumental alleged task, allegedly done by a 20-year-old singer by himself. But I will tell you, the filing does make you question if maybe, you know what? Maybe he did allegedly act alone. The filing states that David, quote, lied to friends, business associates, and others about the strong smell of decay in and around the home and the car. When LAPD served the search warrant at the house after Celeste was identified, they reportedly found all sorts of evidence in the garage to support dismemberment, including biological evidence that tested positive for blood. They say it matched the victim's unique genetic profile, as well as the inflatable pool, which had these multiple, quote, linear cuts And I want to go through the list of evidence that the state provides, which it says will be able to present at trial to prove David's guilt. Again, allegations, but let me go through this. And by the way, photos and videos of some of that evidence was released on X by private investigator Steve Fisher, who's been on this case from the beginning. He was hired by the owner of the Hollywood Hills home that David was apparently renting, who had a lot of questions about just what was going on at this property when Celeste's body was found. And the
Yo, let's turn this up. Alright,
Keep it going.
hit the like button, hit the like button, hit the like button. Keep it moving, keep it moving, keep it moving, keep it moving, keep it moving.
Make an audio. Make a
Alright,
what?
hit that like button.
Make a what?
Make an audio, let's go. Alright, I feel like riding, man. Y'all feel like riding?
The Tesla was allegedly connected back to the singer. But since then, I've spoken with Steve many times about what he's been able to uncover, and we're going to get to that in just a moment. But back to this evidence list. First, quote, the description of photographs depicting the victim naked, as well as while she was engaged with defendant in sexual activity when she was 13, as this evidence constitutes child sexual abuse material. The photographs themselves will not be presented. While all possible charges that could be proven were not filed, the CSAM is proof of their ongoing sexual relationship while the victim was 13 and 14 years old. I also do wonder if you're looking at potential federal charges here. Quote, numerous text messages between defendant and the victim evidencing their sexual relationship, pregnancy, abortion, use of Plan B, emergency contraception. Messages through March 2025 prove defendant continued to manipulate the victim as she messaged, all we do is have sex and just hang out. Man, I want more than that for myself. These messages were obtained from defendant's iCloud data. Defendant's cellular activity and communications derived from defendant's iPhone and Tesla, which demonstrate defendant's activities from April 22nd, 2025 to April 24th, 2025, including a trip to Santa Barbara County in the middle of the night after the victim arrived at his Hollywood Hills home. Surveillance video of defendant driving his Tesla on July 29, 2025 for the last time before parking the vehicle and leaving on tour at the end of July. So Steve Fisher shared the surveillance video after the hearing on X, reportedly showing the Tesla one of the last times it was driven. It's believed that Celeste's dismembered remains were inside that front trunk. And the list of potential evidence continues, quote, DNA evidence developed from blood stains collected from defendant's garage, which matched the victim's genetic profile, proof of defendant's Amazon purchases and deliveries to his residence, including 2 chainsaws, a body bag, an inflatable pool, heavy-duty laundry bags, a burn cage after April 24th, 2025. Steve also shared photos of some of these alleged packages. You can see the deliveries are addressed to Victoria Mendez. Not clear why David would allegedly use that particular name. Quote, proof of defendant's purchase and delivery from Postmates of a shovel from Home Depot to his home on April 24th, 2025. Uber records showing defendant's transaction where he ordered an Uber to pick up the victim from her Lake Elsinore home and transport her to his residence the night of April 23rd, 2025. Proof of defendant's lucrative career as a singer-songwriter prior to April 23rd, 2025. Defendant had an album release party on the night of April 24th, 2025 before embarking on an international tour in late July 2025. Text message exchanges between defendant and the victim on April 22nd and April 23rd, 2025, where the victim threatened to expose defendant and destroy his career. The prosecution has issued numerous subpoenas and is prepared to proceed with the preliminary hearing. Now, as I mentioned before, the court, again, decided to push this back to May 26th, and the delay was frustrating for a lot of people, including Steve Fisher. He's been very vocal on social media about what seemed to be a lack of transparency, a slow investigation on the part of authorities. Remember, David wasn't arrested until 1 year after, when prosecutors believe Celeste was killed. She was last seen or heard from in April 2025. Her body was found in the Tesla in September, and then David was taken into custody, 10 days ago? So yesterday, after the delay, he tweeted, quote, from the David hearing continued until May 26th, the speedy preliminary was a bluff by the defense. The game of hide the ball from the public has started. The judge agreed to put a protective order on the search warrants and affidavits, as well as the grand jury transcripts. So much for an open and transparent system. David's defense even asked for a simple brief to be sealed. After running the worst PR campaign in history the last 7 months, not coming out with a single statement supporting their client, the defense now thinks the public will form a poor opinion of their client if the public sees any of the discovery. His lawyers seem more like publicists than criminal trial litigators. Hashtag Celeste Rivas Hernandez. Now, I had a chance to speak with Steve, as well as certified death investigator Joseph Scott Morgan, last night on my News Nation show, Jesse Weber Live, and they talked more about these alleged grisly details. Take a listen.
We did find a chainsaw we found a burn cage, and we knew that they were ordered in the name of this Victoria Mendez. And we disclosed that it was, in a fake name. And but we didn't know if that was a real person or not. However, all these things, and there was more things that were delivered to the house in that name, and we couldn't get past the chainsaw or the burn cage. Just there was no reasonable use to have it there.
I've had a couple of cases involving chainsaws over the course of my career, and I'll just put it to you this way: the deposition of tissue and blood, because with a regular handsaw, you would just you might get a little tissue, you're gonna have a lot of blood. This is going to sling actual tissue everywhere. And so the idea that this could be cleaned up completely, there's no way.
Absolutely horrific to think about. And I will just say our hearts, our prayers, our thoughts are really going out to Celeste's family at this time. We've all been, demanding answers, but to finally learn some of these gruesome alleged details about what purportedly happened to their loved one, that's a different kind of torture, right? And the teen's family has not yet spoken publicly about the case per se. They did release a statement through their attorney after David's arrest saying, "We would like to thank the Los Angeles Police Department and the District Attorney's Office for their hard work. We would also like to thank the people of Lake Elsinore for all their support. Celeste was a beautiful, strong girl who loved to sing and dance. Every Friday night was movie night, and we spent wonderful times together. We love her very much, and she always told us that she loved us. We miss her deeply. All we want is justice for Celeste." And I also spoke with Steve for an episode of Sidebar yesterday to get his take on the dozens of search warrants reportedly filed in this case I mentioned before, but take a look. Let me ask you this, 54, 55 search warrants, is that unusual? I mean, that seems like a lot. And why, how specific do you think each one was? What do you think they were for?
Well, you definitely are going to have, Apple with iCloud and his individual devices. I can tell you that he does have a lot of actual devices, a lot of phones. And then you're going to have Google and stuff like that. But there was a search warrant issued as late as April 20th, so after his arrest. And there was another one that looks like it falls on like the 5th or the 6th of April. So they were issuing search warrants right up. I think there was a total of 7 that I saw that were issued in 2026.
Do you think that's something he had on him at the time of the arrest or something at the property where he was arrested?
I think they probably had some sort of, I think that when they arrested him, they cataloged, what was there, and then they got a warrant immediately, kind of like they did with the car originally. They went there, they verified that there was a smell in the car. They immediately got a search warrant to enter the car. Probably the same thing. And Beth alluded to that. Actually, she said that she didn't know at the time if there was going to be significance from those returns or not.
Let me ask you this. Do you think that those warrants also include materials possessed by other individuals that are not David?
Certainly, I definitely think there's going to be at least cloud type of data, other Facebook account or Instagram accounts, Meta, let's call it, and iCloud. They specifically leaned into iCloud a lot. They said that there was over 10 terabytes of data from one iCloud account. So, listen, I can kind of see, the guy's a musician. He's probably got a ton of music, ton of video, raw video and everything backed up there, but it's still a massive account. I've heard reports of them saying 10 terabytes of child porn. I don't think that's the case. I think it's a 10 terabyte account. Yes, I think others are wrapped up in this. I think all his inner circle people have had all their accounts subject to search warrant, probably their social media accounts, and including his management.
I'm glad you mentioned, this is something we talked about previously. Prosecutors say he was in possession of child pornography. We don't know if it was allegedly of Celeste or someone else, but that was interesting and made me wonder if there could be federal charges on the horizon for him. Real quick, if they unseal these search warrants, you, me, everyone's going to be able to see them?
We'll be able to see who they were served upon, and we'll be able to see what the return was. Not saying the data, but the return filed by the police saying we recovered, this account, data from this account. We'll see on a general basis, and we'll see who it was served upon, what they were looking for, and what the probable cause was. But just going to be the real tell in this thing, what the probable cause was to get the search warrant.
So I encourage you to check out that full interview. It's up right now on Law and Crime's YouTube channel. We'll, of course.
Yeah, so this is what it's about, man. This is about David. Do y'all understand what's going on with this case now and how sick this is, what he's alleged of doing? Because the internet is the new block, so you understand. I mean, back in the day, the parents worried about the corner, what the kids was doing on the corner, what the kids was doing in the hallway, in the park, you know, the car ride and slow down the block. You know, that's what they was worried about. But today, the danger can be the bedroom, behind a locked screen, inside a DM, inside Discord. Y'all know, do y'all even know what Discord is? Somebody put in the comment, I'm learning about all this because I'm on social media now. But y'all old mothers like me, put in there if you know what Discord is, right? It could be hiding inside a fake friendship. People acting like they're their child's friend, always around your child, and you ain't tell your child, slow down, get away from them. And while you think your child is just online, somebody else might be studying their pain of not being able to communicate with you. So learn to communicate with your children, their loneliness, their curiosity, their need for attention. My dog Kilo, right? Kilo comes and I'm sitting at the computer. I got my hand on the computer on the mouse, and Kilo come and put his head right under my thing, go like this, like pet me. Give me some attention, give me some affection. You know, how do your child tell you to give him affection that you notice without them actually saying it? Put it in the comments. All right. Now, right? Parents, stop saying my child would never use the word never. All right. It's just there to be there, but you can never say it would never be my child. That phrase is dangerous. My child would never. My son ain't that type. My daughter tells me everything. No, children hide pain. Children hide fear. Remember that. Children hide their shame. Children hide their relationship. Children hide their predators because predators teach them how to hide. And then when something happens, everybody says, I had no idea. But David's parents probably never saw this coming. Let's keep it real, right? No parent wants to believe they raised somebody that's capable of evil, such as what David is charged with. No parent wakes up thinking my child could be accused of something like what David is charged with. But that's the lesson. You can love your child and still not know your child. You can feed them, put clothes on them, celebrate their talent, watch them become famous. Like, look at Pooh Shiesty and his father. His father watched him become famous and watched him throw his career away, and all he had to do was say one word, stop. And still, he missed the darkness growing inside of his son. Like, David's parents missed it if he's really guilty of this, because right now he's just alleged. That's why parents can't just be support. It has to be inspection. They got to inspect what they're doing. It has to be correction, correct them when they do wrong. It has to be hard conversations, right? Watch the child that everybody praises. Watch the child that everybody praises. Sometimes the dangerous one is not the loud one, not the one in trouble at school, not the one fighting outside. Sometimes it's the talented ones. Like, look how talented Pooh Shiesty is. Go back to him. The quiet one, the successful one, the one everybody calls gifted because talent can hide sickness, fame can hide their character, money can hide accountability, fans can hide the flags. You know, when you see those red flags, right? Celeste was a child, not a character in a trend. So you understand that. Let's not forget the victim. Celeste was not just a headline, not just a name in a case, not just somebody people argue about online. and talk about how sick this crime is. She was a child, a 14-year-old child. Rest in peace to her. A whole life ahead of her. A family now carrying pain no one should ever have to carry. And the internet better be careful turning this into entertainment, because this ain't gossip. This is a warning sign for you to watch your children and pay attention to what's going on. Let me give you the jewel now, Ron. Check the phone before you check their grades. You know, we grew up, we say, oh, let me see your report card and I get you something for getting straight A's. No, check their phones and give them something for not having predators in there, for being able to recognize them when they come, but now they need to tell us when they do come so we know that they're there. Parents, stop only checking report cards. Check the phone, check the apps, check the secret accounts, check who they talking to at night, ask questions, watch behavior changes, watch isolation, watch the new gifts they coming in with. Because I remember when I came in with a brand new Sherlin coat that cost $500 and a hat that cost $150 to match, and the glove that cost another $50. My mother looked at me like, you only 11 years old. Where you get that? I ain't buy that. And I said, nah, my friend brought it for me. I'm 11. What friend I have that's going to buy me all this? But, you know, we were so poor, moms let it ride and said, that sounds good, so I'm going to ride with that. You know what I mean? Like I said, so you got to watch the gifts that the kids come in with, and to watch the older people showing up too much with too much interest in your child. A child don't need privacy from protection. A child needs protection from predators. Remember that. This is not about control, and this is not about survival. You know what I mean? And I said that wrong. Let me get that right. This is not about control. This is about survival. Let me get that right. Some kids say, you don't trust me. What do you say when your kids say you don't trust me? Put in the comments. What do you say when your partner in a relationship saying you don't trust me? You know, females quick to go with that crap with the manipulation. What do you say when they say that, right? It's not that I don't trust you. It's that, here's what I would say. It's not that I don't trust you. It's that I don't trust the world. I don't trust grown people chasing children. I don't trust strangers in DMs. I don't trust fame around ignorance and innocence. So an adult shouldn't play on a child's ignorance because they're innocent. I don't trust nobody who tells a child, don't tell your parents. First red flag when they say don't tell your parents. That line right there is alarming, right? Any adult telling your child to hide something from you is already crossing a line. The streets are real, but the internet is just as dangerous, if not more dangerous. I keep telling the youth every time I do my speeches, the streets are real, prisons are realer. Remember that the streets are real, but prisons are realer. But now I got to tell the parents, the internet is real too. Predators are real. Grooming is real. Manipulation is real. And when you don't watch your young child, you might not know who they're becoming or who they're being pulled towards. Right? Let me give the final words so I get out of here. I've been on here long. What is it, about 40-something minutes, right? But I just like to ride and give you all these jewels, right? The final word, don't raise a stranger. Don't just raise a child. Study your child. Know their moods. Know their friends. Know their online world. And don't just celebrate them. Build character in them. Teach boundaries. Teach accountability. Teach consequences, so they know the reaction to their actions. Because a child with talent but no character can become very dangerous. And a child with pain but no protection can become prey. That's the jewel. Pay attention early so you could recognize these signs, because once tragedy hits, everybody starts seeing signs they should have been seen before, right? Now, I want to ask you all these 10 viral questions, right? How well do parents really know their children once those children get online? 2, is the internet the new hunting ground for predators pretending to be friends? 3, should parents have full access to minor children's phone, or is that crossing the line, getting in their business? Do we protect celebrity images more than we protect young victims? That's a good one. Do we protect celebrity images more than we protect young victims? How many red flags get ignored before somebody is talented, famous, or successful and let this animal out into society when they have the bag? Can a parent love their child and still completely miss who that child is becoming? Why do so many young girls feel safer talking to strangers online than adults in their own home? Should platforms be held responsible when adults allegedly meet minors through online spaces? That's a good one. Should platforms be held responsible when adults allegedly meet minors through online spaces? Are fans too quick to defend celebrities before they even read the allegations, or are they too quick to condemn them before they read the allegations? Put that in a comment. Question number 9. What is the bigger lesson from Celeste's story? Watch your children or watch who your children admire. Remember that. All right. So that's the story of, David and Celeste. Just letting you know what it is. Been on here long enough. Hello?